My men in Afghanistan bled the ground red. And for the last 7 months, I've watched generals, engage in Twitter fights with people, debate the merits of critical race theory on Capitol Hill. It seemed like our generals were more concerned with fighting Tucker Carlson than they were the Taliban. And we are seeing the tragic and disastrous consequences of that play on the battlefield right now. To our soldiers, you did your job. You sacrificed, you fought, you gave the people of Afghanistan a shot for freedom, and it's important for the American people to hear this. It's time. We need to blame the suits for this tragic failure and not the boots.
We should not have a single conversation about what happens with refugees in Afghanistan until we evacuate American citizens first. That should be our number one priority. The situation is urgent. We have to get our people out of there before the Taliban takes us hostage.
Let me lay out the situation. 10,000 Americans right now are trapped and surrounded by the enemy in Kabul. We don't know where they are. How should we, or why should the world expect a man in Joe Biden who doesn't know where he is 50% of the time to be able to save those people?
They knew that something like this was coming, Stu, and ultimately Joe Biden owns this. It was this panic retreat that led to the static defensive position that we have at the airport there in Kabul. And look, this sort of encompasses why it's so dangerous to negotiate with the Taliban. You cannot trust them. Yeah. They talk out of both sides of their mouth.
It absolutely boggles the mind that no one has been held accountable for this. No one has been fired. No one has resigned. A 13-year-old that plays Call of Duty has more tactical acumen than anybody in the Joe Biden administration, and it's an absolute disgrace. It's such an insult that he's trying to mainstream them, and he would have us believe that the Taliban are sitting around in caves talking about climate change and how they can decrease their carbon footprint and maybe make the transfer from a Toyota Hilux pickup truck to a Toyota Prius.
And not only that, the Biden administration and our CENTCOM commanders and our generals are talking about, oh, well, we've let the Taliban know how best they can protect our people. What? What's even, to add insult to injury to all of this, is the fact that the Biden administration is sort of trying to mainstream the Taliban as a kinder, gentler Taliban 2.0. It's an insult to everyone who fought there. It's an insult to every family who lost loved ones there.
Yes, I'm tough on Joe Biden, right? My non-commissioned officers as a young lieutenant were tough on me. Why? Because leaders, commanders make decisions, and God forbid if they make bad decisions, they could get people killed. If a commander-in-chief, a president of the United States, makes a bad decision, they could get thousands of people killed. After we had lost 13 American lives, I think the American people were watching and wanting Joe Biden to express resolve and empathy, but we didn't get that. Instead, we got somebody who was weak, projected weakness, and then at the end said something, oh, I've got a list of people who I'm allowed to call on. Every American in the country saw that and wondered, who's running the show? There is something wrong from a leadership standpoint with the senior leaders in this country. There's a massive disconnect between the door kickers on the ground, the people that are serving front towards enemy, and the people that are serving in air-conditioned offices in the Pentagon. And quite frankly, I think that they've forgotten just the core tenet of leadership. Leadership lesson number one, it is not about you. Leadership is about serving others. If service is beneath you, then true leadership will always be beyond you. Lie about the conditions on the battlefield, and otherwise you won't get the military assistance. They don't call him quid pro Joe for nothing. And the most horrible thing about all of this, Tammy, is that the fact that he had to lie means that he knew 6 weeks ago that things were going to go bad. You know, I'm a Republican. I recognize that there are things in this world that are worth fighting for, that freedom is worth defending, that this country is worth dying for. But as the next senator of Pennsylvania, I can make a promise to the people of this state and this country that I will never send your son or daughter into the fight, into a war, frivolously and forever, with no mission or clear-cut end state. You remember that Joe Biden was a young senator railing against the Vietnam War during the fall of Saigon. He was vice president for Benghazi. He's president during the fall of Kabul. He's been at ground zero for every foreign policy disaster that this country has ever experienced in the last 50 years. And quite frankly, he's the definition of failing up.